Joe, this could have been you, man. This could have been you. Now he's just hanging out.
And Zach is a player I've known from Southern California PTQs for the better part of a decade now.
I have seen this name every time we come down here.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a San Diego area guy, an LA guy, but I've seen him.
I think he's closer to an LA guy.
Oh, no, Joe Stink is on him, too. Got a whiteboard land in hand.
Original flooded strand.
Yeah. Definitely one of Joe's friends. Teamer Battle Rage the draw.
See, most groups can handle one bad influence. It's the second bad influence where bad things start happening.
It's just tough to watch.
Tough to watch.
Here's a raise the alarm. 2 soldier tokens on the way. See what Bistagne's third land's going to be. It's going to be a copy of Temple of Epiphany. Top card going to stay on top. Here's an attack for 2. A Plains the draw step here. Now, Scales had the opportunity to play a creature the last turn. They opted not to.
Yep.
Now he's going to play a Seeker of the Way. You have to imagine he's doing this to defend a creature with God's Willing.
Exactly. Or at least trying to represent it. There's a lot of players who will just pump the brakes altogether and stop casting things the minute you have a mana up.
There's a Wild Slash. That'll take care of the Seeker of the Way.
Particularly when it's one of the heroic creatures, it's a bit different when it's Seeker of the Way, because if you hit it with a God's Willing, it doesn't really matter. You untap and you have another opportunity to remove it. When it's the heroic creatures and they have an opportunity to grow as a result, it's much more dangerous to try to kill them into open mana.
It's a Jeskai Ascendancy. It's an attack for 2. Scale's going to go down to 15 after he sacrifices the fetch land as well.
This, by the way, is the reason I would play this deck. Is because when this card's in play, anything your opponent does is a joke.
The thing that's really frustrating for me about this deck is that it, for the most part, just starts on turn 3, and it has a lot of 3-mana spells. That's the reason that I don't love the deck. I played it in a PTQ, and I liked it, but it feels very clogged. Playing 2 spells a turn is very hard for the deck to do.
So you go ahead and you cut the Rabble Masters or something. I don't think that's a problem that can't be solved.
Sure. Here's a Battle-Wise Hotplay. Also, finding the right configuration for this deck it just feels daunting. Rabble Vaster versus Monastery Mentor versus Hordling Outburst versus other 3-drops seems really tough to figure out. Not saying it can't. I definitely agree that that's a problem that can be solved. Though it just does seem pretty tough. I don't know if it's just week to week either. Here's an attack for 2 from Bistasgne.
This is an attack showing a lot of strength here, because if Adam has anything to trigger the Ascendancy, then Zach needs some sort of trick of his own to keep his Hoplite alive. I think that Adam's hand, though, is a land and a Disdainful Stroke.
I still love the attack.
I love the attack.
Yeah. The draw is a Laguna Band Trailblazer.
Disdainful Stroke's got a lot of matchups in Standard where it's awesome. It's got a variety of matchups where it's fine, good but not great. And then it has one matchup where it doesn't do anything, and he happens to be playing that matchup.
Yeah, where would that be? Here's an Ordeal of Heliod.
Even the mono red decks have Outpost Siege and Stoke the Flames. It's not good, but it'll come up.
Yeah, I think there are no targets. Are we on a no-for?
Unless he has a random main deck Treasure Cruise or something like that, it's probably no targets.
Yeah, we're on the old donut here.
Yeah.
Ordeal of Heliod targeting the Battle-Wise Hoplite there. A little scry action, of course. Here's an attack. Another counter there are. Looks like 4 points of damage are going to come across. Somebody maybe setting up a little Teamer Battle Rage action. Oh, there's the Trailblazer. See if Bistasgne can put together on this ring. He needs some sort of action. Attacking again. Trailblazer not afraid to block.
Pretty safe block here for Zach.
There's a Battlefield Forge. Here's a bunch of mana. Perhaps we're cruising? We are. That'll trigger this. Untap there. Draw, discard. A Disdainful Stroke going to go to the bin.
Excellent choice.
Now 3 cards coming. Plains, and it looks like 2 copies of Dig Through Time.
I'm going to guess here that M's not going to get to untap. We'll see the full scope of the damage soon.
Do you have a feeling? There's a Battlefield Forge. I think we're going to see at least one copy of Teamer Battle Rage, maybe two. Pretty straightforward attack here. Trigger, gain some life. This is the common block that you would often see against Heroic.
Yeah, I'm just going to chump your creature, and now this happens as a result.
Yep. Teamer Battle Rage, of course the creature is ferocious. It's Heroic, they make one big creature. Now you'll assign a little trample damage here. Push over a creature.
I imagine Teamer Battle Rage does improve this matchup quite a bit, because often Jeskai Tokens gets into a spot where they have some unwieldy cards, they have some clunkers, they're trying to get Ascendancy in play, build up a board, and eventually overpower you. And a big part of that game plan is finding spots to cast Whirling Outburst and Raise the Alarm to be able to chump block. Now with Teamer Battle Rage, you can't take that line of play anymore.
And at this point, Teamer Battle Rage isn't something that everyone knows about.
Yes.
So, we haven't seen it put up a great performance. I know Joe's been playing. He's a big name on the Open Series, but he hasn't had that big performance that he's looking for with this particular deck. So I don't think it's a card that people play around at all. And to this deck's credit, from the Jeskai Token side, I don't really think they can play around it.
Exactly. What's Adam supposed to do last turn? Does he double block? I mean, that doesn't really solve any of these problems, so.
There's Monastery Mentor. We'll just pass the turn.
I believe Zach's hand is Feat of Resistance plus a Teamer Battle Rage, in which case Adam can do nothing. I mean, the Battle Rage by itself cleans it all up, but
I wouldn't even show him Feat if I didn't have to. There's another Battle Rage. That's going to do it. Zach Scale's going to win game number one here over Adam Bistasgne. Jeskai Heroic up a game here over Jeskai Tokens very, very quickly, thanks to Teamer Battle Rage. Now, I actually felt that White-Blue Heroic against Jeskai Tokens is actually a pretty bad matchup for White-Blue Heroic. Depending on the build of Jeskai Tokens. When I played Jeskai Tokens in a PTQ back in Seattle at the end of last year, a bunch of Seeker of the Ways and, Hoarding Outbursts and chump blocking was definitely a strategy that you can employ. Just the fact that the red splash and there are 4 copies of Teamer Battle Rage, actually think the matchup is pretty bad for Jeskai Tokens now.
I think it gets a lot worse. I think the old build of White-Blue versus Jeskai Tokens, it was so play-draw biased that I think Tokens maybe had a slight edge, but the die roll mattered more than either of the deck's composition.
Sure.
Now with Teamer Battle Rage, it's a very different matchup.
It's really, one card can really swing everything.
Yes.
And it's the fact that they have 4 copies of this card as well in Teamer Battle Rage. You saw its effectiveness there. We'll probably see it again in one of these next 2 games as we take a look at the sideboards. We will start with Bistasgne and his 15 cards.
A Wild Slash, a Jeskai Charm, a Soulfire Grandmaster, a Seeker of the Way, 2 copies of Arc Lightning, 2 copies of Erase, 2 copies, of Valor Stance, 2 Disable Stroke, 3 copies of Negate. I like the 3 copies of Negate in this matchup. I like the additional creatures I think you need to get on the board pretty early. I like the Wild Slash as additional removal. 2 copies of Valor Stance is nice as it's good at handling something that gets out of control size-wise. So Wild Slash plus Valor Stance is a good splitting of the difference, something to handle the creatures as they come out early on, and then something that can catch you up in case something gets out of control.
Other side of things, we got a Treasure Cruise, 3 Disdainful Strokes, 2 Stubborn Denials, 2 Glare of Heresies, 2 Erase, 2 Valorous Stance, an Ordeal of Heliod, and a Johnny's Presence, and a Plains, actually. Love a sideboard with a land in it.
There's a lot of cards in here that are good against burn-based removal, so as Johnny's Presence, 2 copies of Valorous Stance, I think those are reasonable to bring in. I think the 2 copies of Glare of Heresy are excellent for removing creatures or Jeskai Ascendancy, and the 2 copies of Stubborn Denial are okay.
Always matchups like this, it's always like this kind of mini game if you're supposed to bring in a race or not, because Jeskai Ascendancy is so good.
I think that I prefer just bring in the Glares because the Glares have utility against things like Monastery Mentor and Seeker of the Way. Erase is a little too narrow for my liking. I have seen people bring in Erase, and when things line up the right way, it looks great, but because these heroic decks need to have the right mixture of creatures plus enchantments, plus your lands, plus protection effects, bringing in dead cards is a much higher opportunity cost for this deck than it is for most. So Abzan bringing in some Erases, that's fine, but I think this deck bringing in Erases is a mistake more often than not.
Okay. Well, both players shuffle up here for game number 2. Scales, of course, did win game number 1 thanks to Teamer Battle Rage. We will talk very quickly about our winter collection. We've got new sleeves, new playmats, and new dice bags.
Yep, we got the Mammoth, the Rat, the Wolf, and the Turtle Witness all available on card sleeves, playmats, and dice bags. You can head over to StarCityGames.com/creature collection to order your items today, or head by the dealer booth at any Open we're running or any Grand Prix where we have a booth.
Pretty straightforward stuff. Since we were saying this is the new winter collection, that implies that there will be a spring, summer, and fall.
Correct.
That's what I'm picking up.
Typically the case, yes.
Okay. I hope we're not wrong about that. I'm playing a guessing game.
It would be weird. Because otherwise it would just be called the 2015 collection.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I'm with you.
You're picking up what I'm putting down. I hope they don't make us look stupid.
There's little hints all over the place.
There are.
It's just, can you pick them up or not? That's all.
Plus, these are kind of like, well, not really the turtle so much, but the mammoth and the wolf are kind of wintry animals.
Right.
I don't really know what is a spring animal, but, maybe the spring collection has spring animals in it.
Sure. Baby animals.
Like they're being born.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Baby animals.
Makes sense.
Dude, I don't know. I have nothing to do with the art department or creative. They do an excellent job, but
You know what we need? I just thought of it right now. Beavers.
Beaver collection's pretty sweet.
Yep. I think they could be totally adorable. Huge buck teeth.
Yep.
Those would sell. They should have a beaver no, I just said beaver, wow. Beaver tribal. That's what I think.
I don't know if Magic. I'd have to look. There's probably one weirdo back in the day from Legends or something like that.
I think there's at least one, maybe two beavers. Favorite hoplite is the first play. It looks like it's going to get slashed, and it will. But Mr. Scales has a response. Maybe a God's Willing, maybe a Defiant Strike. Either one will work.
Stubborn Denial would also play.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to be a Defiant Strike. And the tough thing here is that he's got to search up a Plains with his Flooded Strand. This means he's got a white mana base and a 3-color deck right now.
This is not ideal, but we don't know exactly what his hand's like right now. He may not need the Flooded Strand to find blue. Also, he gets a draw off Defiant Strike, so he's got some looks at it.
Is this one of these like implied 9-card hands?
Exactly. Yeah. Battlefield Forge sort of helps, you know?
Let's see what the follow-up is here for Bistasgne. Well, Lightning Strike will take care of that. We'll go Scales way. See if he's got another threat. There's Hero of Iroas. We've just been informed there are no beavers in Magic.
Pretty disappointing.
That's just an exploitable hole.
Agreed.
That's open design space. That may be on purpose.
You don't want to mine it all.
You have to leave some.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm not a game designer, but I'm sure you know that.
Right. You don't want to spend it all in one place.
Here comes Hero of Iroas. 2 damage will come through. Pretty honest start here for Zach. Nothing really crazy going on. Well, Adam's just super reactive.
Typically, when this kind of stuff is happening, it's because both players respect the other's capacity to do some real damage. Zach wants to hold up as much reaction as possible. Adam doesn't want to play into it. So they're both trying to find workarounds to advance their board without getting blown out by each other's tricks.
There's an attack just for 1. Pass the turn back. Scales will draw. There's land number 5, so colors are not an issue. Thought they might be after the second turn, but not an issue at all. Here comes the hero.
Zach drew pretty well post Defiant Strike. I think that was his second land. I think it was also worth saving the hoplite, but he has drawn quite nicely here. Now all of his mana is online.
A pretty quick chump block there.
Yeah, I imagine that we were going to see Stoke the Flames or something in that spot. And Adams' plays here might indicate that he has something like End Hostilities in the sideboard. He does not. He does have also 0 copies of Anger of the Gods. So these are just straight chump blocks.
Yeah, it's a very strange play pattern, to be sure. mean, by playing this way, he's getting Scales to not deploy more threats to the table, but when you're playing against Heroic Deck, they don't want to deploy more than one threat to the table.
Every time a turn goes by where Adam hasn't used his mana is a success for Zach.
Yeah.
Because when there's eventually a confrontation over this Hero Eye of Aroas or some creature down the line, Jeskai Heroic typically will be able to win those kind of fights because its tricks are so cheap relative to other decks. And if any of your reaction is burned, some of those cards get incidentally answered as they're on the stack by just heroic triggers resolving and the creature growing to such a size that the lightning strike on the stack no longer kills it.
There's no deal of Thassa. At the very least, there will be a heroic trigger. And there's Negate. And that'll trigger the Seeker of the Way.
But all these little battles here are very good for Zach because as his creature grows, it means that future burn spells from Adam do not get this off the table. And then he needs to have things like Valorous Stance, Jeskai Charm. A class of his answers are being shoved aside in all of these sequences. And if Zach is able to do all this while leaving up Feat of Resistance or Defiant Strike, it's very hard for Adam to get out.
Bistasgne will draw after losing a Seeker of the Way. There's a Temple. Take a look at the top card. Becomes the bottom card. Pass that turn back. Scales will draw. And perhaps Jeskai Charm's going to try to put that on top. Well, it looks like Scales has a lot of reactive stuff. And as you mentioned, Scales' ability to react to Bistasgne spells, it's so much cheaper.
Yeah, he's a lot more efficient here. God's Willing, Feat of Resistance, Stubborn Denial, if that's in his sideboard. Compared to Adam trying to cobble together 2 and 3 mana responses. Adam can only get an edge if he has way more mana than Zach, or he's able to chain together something over the course of 2 turns, like he's trying to do right now.
And this is where a card like Feat of Resistance is such a beating, because you're paying 2 mana to counter his 3 mana spell, and you still have 3 mana available to do whatever you want on your turn. And a lot of his protection spells are just 1 mana.
Exactly.
So from an efficiency standpoint, Scales is destroying him.
Oh, and he's also hitting for 6 now.
Yeah.
So you don't have a lot of time to set up whatever it is you're trying to set up.
Well, we thought it was 6. Let's make it more than 6.
All right, so that's 14, which is a lot. I'm no mathematician, but that is a lot of damage.
The closing speed on Heroic has always been pretty good, but the closing speed on this particular road deck, because, you know, now Bistasgne is facing lethal next turn.
And I believe God's Willing is still at the ready.
Oh, yeah. Wild Slash the draw.
And this is the problem that Tokens gets into in the matchup is once this happens, a lot of what is ostensibly their removal spells don't function anymore.
Yep. They have a shelf life. Wild Slashes, Lightning Strikes, all that stuff.
We see it all the time with Drown in Sorrow.
Yeah.
People bring in Drown in Sorrow, and by the time they're able to cast it, they're facing down a 6/6.
God's Willing targeting that Hero of Iroas to counter the Jeskai Charm. Looks like Scales may have forgotten to scry there, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I'm not stressing on it if I'm Zach.
He's going to come in for lethal. And that's going to get the job done. Zach Scales is going to win this match over Adam Bistasgne. Pretty easy fashion, 2-0. Jeskai Heroic will take care of Jeskai Tokens. You can thank Teamer Battle Rage for that one.
Very impressive both games. You know, game 1 was a very good demonstration of what it can do in the matchup, where if that card's not available to Zach, Adam may have a shot of generating some tokens, chump blocking, get Ascendancy online, and start spinning over some real value. But because of Teamer Battle Rage, Adam did not have the time to get that structure set up.
Pretty easy breezy stuff there for Scales.